Okay, we got a rational function here, so what we're going to do is factor it. Let's factor the numerator as a difference of squares. That will factor as x plus 3 times x minus 3. Let's go ahead and factor out a x from the denominator to get x times x squared minus 9. So notice again we have that same difference of squares. So I'm going to write it as x plus 3 times x minus 3, just like that. So now we actually have two wholes being pulled out. So this is actually going to look just like the mother function, 1 over x, except with those two wholes. So my wholes are going to occur when x is positive or negative 3. I'm not going to have any zeros because I'm going to have a horizontal asymptote at 0, at y equals 0. I'm going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. And my range is going to be, let's do this. Let's say x is an element of R such that x is not equal to plus or minus 3 and 0 because of the wholes and the vertical asymptotes. That's a nice way to write that. Y is going to be also an element of all real numbers such that y is not equal to, well, it's definitely not going to be equal to 0, but we need to figure out the other two y values that it cannot be equal to, the y values of the wholes. So think about plugging in the x values of the wholes, plus or minus 3, into that function. Well, we're going to get plus or minus 1/3 for those values because our function is acting like 1 over x when you take those wholes out. So we can piece this all together now. We'll dash in that asymptote. We'll dash in that asymptote as well. I know that when x is negative 3, I am going to have a hole at the y value of negative 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my scale here go by 3s. That will allow me to draw it a little. Alright, so I accidentally paused it and I was just talking to myself for a few minutes. So I've got my scale. Each one of those big purple tick marks is 1. So each one of those grid lines is 1/3. Because I know that at the x value of positive 3, I will have a hole at 1/3. And at the x value of negative 3, I will have a hole at negative 1/3. The x value of 1, I'll have a point at the y value of 1. And same for negative 1. And so this graph is going to look something like that, with the hole right there going down to that asymptote, going up to that asymptote, and then same thing over there. So that is my best attempt at drawing this moderately accurately. Looks okay.